Thank you for joining us for this look at some of the best stories from KPBS News this week. I'm Jacob Ayer. Coming up, a growing math problem for higher education. UC San Diego is among many universities where students are struggling. We examine the underlying reasons behind the recent trend. And a North County farm is inviting people to adopt an avocado tree. Details on the plan to help growers in our region. And Women's History in San Diego. Learn about a new collaboration between the San Diego History Center and the Women's Museum of California. We start with a big decision the San Diego City Council will have to make next week. The issue is whether the city will approve its deal with Flock, a company that provides automated license plate readers. KPBS reporter John Carroll was there as critics gathered downtown to say they want Flock out.
Shut the Flock down! Get the Flock out!
Members of dozens of community organizations were joined by two members of the San Diego City Council this morning to weigh in on the subject of ALPR cameras in the city. But if you've never heard of a company called Flock, you might not know what their signs meant or what they were chanting about.
Flock is a proven bad actor that has shown either an unwillingness or an inability to prevent their powerful tool from being abused.
Flock is an Atlanta-based company that makes the ALPR cameras San Diego has been using since 2023. A KPBS investigation this year found a number of San Diego County police agencies using ALPR data collected from privately owned license plate readers with minimal oversight. And Flock has faced criticism in other states and cities in the country where its cameras are in use. Some places have cut ties with the company.
We must reevaluate the city's relationship with Flock to ensure that the city partners with a vendor that respects our residents, that simply follows the law.
We don't believe this technology should be used. This should be removed in its current state.
The San Diego Privacy Advisory Board has studied the use of ALPR systems in the city. Ike Anyanetu says the board doesn't take a position on a specific ALPR company, but it is clear on policies that must be adopted for the systems to be used properly in a way that respects people's privacy. And as things stand now, the PAB says that isn't happening.
This technology should not be used unless you can do these things.
But there is support for ALPR cameras on the city council. Councilman Raul Campillo says they help solve crime, pure and simple.
And that's why we've seen stolen cars reduced by 20% over a year in the city alone, 50% in the middle of the city in District 3, in Uptown, in Hillcrest, and those places where there's traditionally more car thefts. So the data speaks for itself. My constituents want more of these.
The city's Public Safety Committee voted unanimously last month to approve a new contract with Flock. The City Council will take it up at their meeting next Tuesday. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Technology is also at the heart of a growing debate in Imperial Valley. That's where a state lawmaker wants a public review of plans for a massive data center. KPBS's Corey Suzuki says many residents have felt blindsided by the scale of the project.
The planned data center is huge, almost 1 million square feet. It would be located on unincorporated land near the center of the city of Imperial. Most Imperial Valley residents learned that it was in the works just last week, the day after Thanksgiving, when local officials in the city of Imperial published an announcement about it online. In it, they included a notice that said county officials had found the project did not have to go through an environmental review.
I can't fathom a situation where you have, again, just the intensity and scale and what is described in this particular case and then claiming that there is some form of exemption to review.
That's Democratic State Senator Steve Padilla, whose district includes Imperial County. He says the public deserves a complete picture of how much water and power the project will use and how it could affect things like regional air quality. Data centers have been part of the infrastructure of the internet for a long time, but are now facing increasing scrutiny, especially over the vast amounts of water and power they consume, as generative AI companies seek to vastly expand their footprint. The project's developers push back against Padilla's concerns. In a letter Thursday, they said the project was designed to meet high environmental standards.
I can appreciate that the Senator Padilla is at least asking questions, because I have not seen any of our local elected officials say absolutely anything about this.
Gilberto Manzanares is with Valle Imperial Resiste. That's a grassroots advocacy group which has been collecting signatures for a petition calling on the county to hold a public hearing about the project. Manzanares compares the data center to other sectors like the solar industry, which many residents view as extracting the Imperial Valley's resources without creating many meaningful benefits for the people who live here.
Because they've been coming here for decades, and yet we remain one of the highest unemployment and poverty rates in the Imperial Valley.
Manzanares says 700 people have already signed their petition. Officials with the County of Imperial did not respond to interview requests. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
UC San Diego is trying to solve a math problem. The university says a growing number of students are starting their freshman year lacking high school math proficiency. I recently visited the UCSD campus to find out why finding the solution is complicated. The need for remedial math education at UC San Diego has soared over the last 5 years.
The number of students who are not able to perform at the high school level increased, and the number of students who cannot perform even at the middle school level increased enormously.
Akos Ronatosh is co-chair of the school's Senate Administration Work Group on Admissions. This month, they published a report showing the scope of the problem. In 2020, university data show 1 in 200 incoming students needed remedial math. This year, that number is about 1 in 8.
One of those causes is COVID that had a detrimental effect on K through 12 education.
The report also cites the elimination of SAT and ACT requirements, high school grade inflation, and changes to the admissions process as some reasons for the increase. Ronatosh says the school isn't designed to help so many students catch up to university standards.
We are basically setting them up for failure. And that's very, very unfortunate, because many of these students would have been much better off going to, say, community college and take the transfer route.
The university says in 2024, more than half of its students were pursuing degrees in science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM majors require mathematics as part of earning a degree. William Simpson is UC San Diego's student body president. He says the pandemic impacted his own learning.
I think that impacted a lot of people's foundations of learning math and algebra. And then obviously you had increases in AI, so you're starting to be more dependent. When you see a question, you're more likely to ask AI, like, oh, can you help me answer it?
He's working towards a degree in economics, and that requires math. He didn't take a remedial math course, but he did retake pre-calculus his freshman year.
But I realized I need to relearn a lot of the basics and fundamentals of math, right? And so I took that pre-calculus course. It actually wasn't as easy as it sounds. It's actually much harder than the pre-calculus I took in high school.
Since then, Simpson says he's found success in multiple calculus courses. He wants other students to know it's possible.
So I really don't want our incoming students to feel like they didn't deserve to get in, right? Have that imposter syndrome.
UCSD is, in some ways, is the canary in the coal mine.
The nation's report card shows 8th and 12th grade math scores have slightly declined for the past decade. SDSU professor Daniel Reinholz studies math education. He says the problem isn't limited to UCSD. Reinholz says the lack of math proficiency can create long-term problems for students.
There's a lot of research showing when students start in remedial math, their chances of sort of getting through successfully attaining a STEM career are much, much, much lower.
Reinhold says this isn't a situation where students forgot how to do math overnight.
There's been constraints and strains with funding, the pandemic, social media, technology. All of these things have been building over a long period of time. And I think we're seeing in this particular place how all of that stuff is coming together to create a perfect storm.
Some ways to combat declines in math skills, he says, are by better supporting K-12 teachers and making the subject less intimidating at a younger age. But those aren't simple fixes.
We know that students learn better when they have really meaningful, engaging, exciting content, not just drill and practice day after day after day, right? Things that are built on problem solving, things that get students excited, things that connect to their everyday lives.
Reinholz and Ronatosh agree fixing this problem is urgent because math is critically important to learning.
Teaching math is not just teaching numbers. It is not just teaching how to manipulate numbers. It is also teaching how to think.
As for how UCSD can prepare for future students, The Senate report has recommendations. They include changes to assessing math preparedness in admissions, revisiting math requirements for certain majors, and conducting the math placement exam in early summer. Rona Tosh hopes to see those recommendations implemented early next year. The report also says UCSD has started to attempt some remedies for the admitted 2025 cohort of students. That includes calculating a math-only GPA. All of the stories you see on KPBS News this week are available on the KPBS YouTube page. Subscribe and get notified when new content is posted. YouTube is also where we live stream KPBS Evening Edition weeknights at 5. You can also sign up for our newsletters to get a most popular list of our stories. Here are some from this week. San Diego County expands its household appliance exchange program to meet climate goals. And California could lose federal funds to administer food benefits next week. Plus, is Chula Vista's dream of a public university finally coming into focus? We'll have that story a bit later. San Diego County is one of the top regions for avocado growers in California. Still, production has been steadily shrinking. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga shows us how a North County farm is piloting a way to help struggling growers.
Rows and rows of avocado trees adorn the hills of Heal the Earth's organic farm in Bonsall. It's where Chuck Samuelson is testing out a model where anyone can adopt a tree and get the avocados it grows.
It's a yearly subscription where you'll subscribe to a certain yield of avocados for your tree.
Samuelson is a former chef and restaurateur. He's thought a lot about how avocado imports affect growers who bear higher production costs and the quality of food consumers end up getting. So he founded Heal the Earth
to address some of those challenges we have in the food system.
Avocado tree acreage in San Diego County has dropped by nearly half since 2009. That's largely because of rising water costs and imports flooding the market.
Cost of water, labor is expensive and scarce right now. The control of the system by multinational corporations makes everything difficult for farmers.
Samuelson says the tree adoption model can get farmers more money than they would if they sold to a distributor and connect consumers directly to the source.
We think the Adopt a Tree program, both for our farm and for future farms that join our program, can be a game changer. If we can cut out all the middlemen.
The nonprofit is working on building a regional network of growers. The goal is to bring more family-owned farms into the adoption program. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
Chula Vista's dream for a public university may finally be coming into focus. After decades of planning and setbacks, South Bay officials are laying the groundwork for something that will be the first of its kind in California, a hybrid campus that houses degree programs from multiple universities across San Diego County. South Bay reporter Corey Suzuki has more.
If you go out to the eastern edge of Chula Vista, you can see this wide expanse of empty land that stretches from the neighborhood towards the lower Otay Reservoir. It's quiet. Flocks of crows float on the breeze. If you strain for it, you can hear the rumble of a distant freeway. For 3 decades, South Bay officials and state lawmakers have been searching for ways to bring a university here, to this swath of land.
We have a college desert where opportunities are not being provided to families and students.
David Alvarez is a state assembly member for the South Bay. He says higher education opportunities haven't been equally distributed here. Most major cities in California are already home to public four-year universities. With more than 270,000 people, Chula Vista is a major city. It's a majority Latino town, home to many first-generation college students, and one that's at the heart of the San Diego-Tijuana binational region. But if students here want to earn a bachelor's degree, they have to leave town.
But it's an investment that's going to really pay a lot of dividends because we're going to be able to have access to education for our families, and then secondarily, it will create economic activity in the region.
At first, the goal was to become part of the UC or CSU system. At one point, Chula Vista was on the short list to become the location for a brand new CSU campus. But in 2020, the CSU system said they couldn't justify the cost of a new school.
Our key finding is that the projected 2035 enrollment demand alone does not justify the development of a new campus at any of the 5 evaluated locations.
That has led officials to focus on a different idea, a multi-university campus that houses academic programs from other universities and community colleges across the San Diego-Tijuana metro.
You've all been to UC San Diego, or you've been to San Diego State University, or any other number of universities throughout the country or the world. and they're very typical, right? It's the one campus, everybody's the same. But there are other states where they are doing this, where you have multiple institutions on the same campus.
The idea is based on similar campuses across the country. Chula Vista officials are looking at one example in particular, the Auraria campus in Denver, Colorado.
As we were originally envisioned, it was supposed to be a pipeline from one school to the next for students.
Skip Spear is Auraria's chief administrative officer. He says the campus houses the local city college and two separate universities, Metropolitan State University of Denver and University of Colorado Denver. Spear says the idea behind it was to make it easier for students to move between the college and university systems. He says having all three institutions in the same place also allows them to lower costs by combining resources.
A lot of community colleges in Colorado consist of one or two buildings. Here, you're getting access to 150 acres, all of the buildings on campus, a much larger bookstore than you usually have access to, as well as different food options.
There is a key difference between the Auraria campus and the one envisioned here in Chula Vista. Instead of being a primary home, Chula Vista's campus would function more like a satellite for the other universities. To be clear, a physical university campus in San Diego County's second largest city is still years away at the earliest. But there is a sense that this new vision is more realistic than previous plans.
All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes, ayes 67, noes 0. Measure passes.
One reason for this optimism is that the state legislature passed a bill earlier this year, creating a task force to explore funding for the physical campus. Also, the academic infrastructure is already being built. SDSU, UCSD, and CSU San Marcos have each announced plans to begin offering degrees in Chula Vista. And they'll be in industries that are prominent in the South Bay, like nursing, public health, business, and cybersecurity. Alvarez says that's the plan for the university, to focus more narrowly on degrees that would serve major industries in the South Bay, like healthcare and binational trade.
We need to offer an education that actually gets people a job, not just gets them a BA, a certificate, or a degree, but gets them into the workforce.
For many South Bay students, the idea of having a local university is still pretty hazy. On a recent afternoon at Southwestern College, many students told KPBS they had never heard about the project. But the ones who have are excited. Jasmine Araujo is a first-year biology student at Southwestern. She loves the idea of having a university campus closer to home.
We have our own nursing program, and you can get a lot of there's a lot to offer here compared to other community colleges, and a lot of them are much smaller than this campus. So I think it's really good that I want to expand more.
Araujo says she's proud of what Chula Vista has to offer already, but she says it's exciting to think of something new. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
Corey Suzuki was a guest on KPBS Midday Edition earlier this week, where he talked more about the story. Midday Edition can be streamed as a podcast on all major platforms. You can also find the show at kpbs.org. When you think about history, you probably think of the past. But the San Diego History Center has its sights on the future in collaboration with the Women's Museum of California. KPBS anchor Maya Trabulsi recently visited the Center for Women's History, where that history is preserved and created.
We deserve to be here, and we are here now, and it's very exciting.
San Diego History Center trustee Sandra Moss says history is happening now in this shared repository for San Diego stories, and she says there is no better space for it.
Balboa Park is the jewel of San Diego. So many important cultural institutions are here, and having a space dedicated to sharing the stories of women who have made San Diego what it is so important.
Created in 1983 as the Women's Reclamation Project, the evolution of the Women's Museum of California has spanned over 40 years, from a private home to Liberty Station, and now in its final iteration as the Center for Women's History, part of the San Diego History Center, a merger completed this year.
So then these hidden stories are no longer hidden.
Melissa Jones is the public program manager at the History Center. She says it's important to show young people examples of what's possible for them by looking into a mirror from the past.
When young people don't have those examples, they don't really know what's possible for them.
She says her work is more than a professional experience for her.
I'm San Diego born and raised. I love this town, and I was a lifelong lover of history, active in Girl Scouts in my youth, and I came to this organization in my 20s, and I was shocked. I was like, how did I not know the Women's Museum existed? This would have meant so much to me as a kid.
Jones gives us an idea of some of the items being preserved: buttons, literature, clothing, and things you wouldn't expect to find in a museum, like this first-of-its-kind Kotex sanitary pad public marketing campaign for young girls.
But it's an important part of our life and our history to collect this kind of stuff.
It's a new identity. It really is a new identity.
Tina Zarpour is the History Center's Vice President of Community Engagement, Education, and Collections. She says while it's great to have images like the ones she's showing us of women working in the canneries, combining resources allows the museum to present a fully formed history.
Let's look at this one. This one looks like it's a little bit older. West Coast Fisheries, 1930.
She says what we don't see in these images is the other side of the story.
Are there, again, first-person accounts, either through diaries or through their descendants now?
And preserving their collection leads to quite a hefty energy bill every month.
So we have 2 cold rooms, a cold room and a less cold room.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a fan.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so these are where we keep the negatives.
She takes us inside a basement storage room where the contents of seemingly endless filing cabinets are kept at a consistent temperature and humidity for preservation.
You can smell the chemicals. Yes, that's the smell. It's called vinegar syndrome. Yeah. It's the smell of the negatives, off-gassing and things like that. This is part of our UT collection. And from this side, you can see the numbers and the subjects. They're arranged by date. Yes. Each of these is filled with 1981. And so these are all organized by story and by topic.
But it is the personal stories of women that make this collection so uniquely San Diego, like this diary entry written by a woman newly arrived in San Diego on a July morning in 1865.
Oh, the strangely foreign look as I stepped from my stateroom and stood on deck as the steamer came to anchor.
The hills were brown and barren, not a tree or a green thing to be seen. A most desolate-looking landscape.
That has changed.
And embracing change is what the Center for Women's History with the History Center wants to recognize, chronicle, and celebrate.
That was Maya Trabolsi reporting. This weekend, the museum has special hours during December nights from 5 to 9 p.m. A beloved Tijuana bookstore owner has died. Miguel Marquez San Juan founded Libros, Café y Jazz in 2009. Last year, KPBS video journalist Matthew Bowler spent some time with the man known to his friends as Don Miguel. Here's that report from the KPBS archives.
Miguel Marquez San Juan walks down Avenida Calle Niños Eros, just 2 blocks off of Avenida Revolucion. Señor Marquez moved to Tijuana in 1984. Down this little alley sandwiched between an office supply store and an optometrist's office. Marquez opened his dream business.
Look at that. Me gusta mucho.
A bookstore called Libros, Café y Jazz.
Vine a Comala porque me dijeron que acá vivía mi padre, un tal Pedro Páramo. Mi madre me lo dijo y yo le prometí que vendría a verlo en cuanto ella muriera.
Marquez reads from the iconic Mexican novel Pedro Páramo. The film adaptation is set to premiere November 6th on Netflix. Marquez runs the shop with his daughters. They just celebrated the store's anniversary.
Esta librería acaba de cumplir 15 años.
Stacked floor to ceiling with books, the tiny shop aims to bring literature and music to Tijuanenses at accessible prices. From secondhand Mano Chao CDs to bedtime stories for rebellious girls, they've even got a poetry vending machine. Marquez saw a need in Tijuana in 2009.
Nada más estaban las librerías grandes, las clásicas de aquí, pero libro económico no había.
Tijuana does have options for borrowing books. For example, the Centro Cultural Tijuana, or CECUT, has a library. You can't take books home, but everyone is welcome to read what's on the shelves.
Part of the mission of the Centro Cultural Tijuana is share this space for writers from the region.
That's Daniel Togalati from the CECUT. He says the center's working to bring the joy of reading to Tijuana.
They feel an inspiration and they feel the possibility to new different worlds in this communication is between the writer and the reader.
Tocolati says Secut and Libros Café y Jazz are on similar paths. Both support Tijuana's creative community in their own ways.
In this, global situation, we're working in 4 wheels and they are in a bicycle, but they are in the same place and we are sometimes in the same velocity. Sometimes we share the road.
Like Secut, Libros Café y Jazz hosts performances.
Por ejemplo, el próximo domingo, el próximo sábado, o sea mañana, vamos a presentar un grupo de jazz aquí. Se presenta aquí 20, 30 personas.
If you can't make the jazz performances, you might find Señor Marquez in his usual spot, reading Los Amorosos by Jaime Sabines, a poem he holds dear.
Los amorosos callan. El amor es el silencio más fino, el más tembloroso, el más insoportable.
Engaging in his cherished pastimes.
Siempre se están yendo, siempre hacia alguna parte. Esperan, no esperan nada, pero esperan.
Reading, listening to music, and sipping coffee.
Los amorosos se ponen a cantar entre labios una canción no aprendida y se van llorando, llorando la hermosa vida.
Matthew Bowler, KPBS News.
Miguel Marquez San Juan was 67 years old. His bookstore remains open, now run by his daughters. We hope you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Jacob Ayer. Thank you for joining us.